thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we are tracking storms across the U.S. right now, which include one severe thunderstorm warning that's ongoing into St. Louis. We've got 60-mile-per-hour wind speed and quarter-size hail, your marginal, severe, very classic summertime thunderstorm warning. Not too much to worry about there, but we'll get into more information on that here in just a few minutes. We're also going to talk about the tsunami and earthquake updates that we saw late last night, an unprecedented earthquake outside of the eastern side of Russia. 8.8 in magnitude are now causing tsunami warnings and advisories across the world. And we're talking about, a little closer to home here, those warm temperatures across the southern side of the U.S. I mean, waves on the Pacific, heat wave here in the U.S. I mean, it's very, very hot outside today. That is what everyone in the office has been talking about. Thankfully, we do have more cooler temperatures coming in the next few days. So we'll get there, we'll get cooler temperatures. And Denver, you just keep dodging those hailstorms. Did you know that there was baseball-sized hail in Colorado yesterday? Eastern side of Colorado, actually south of Denver, got hit with baseball-sized hail. I think that was in Kutch, Colorado, just outside of Rush, Colorado. And you guys missed the hail, Denver. So you've got another chance today. You've got another chance tomorrow. We'll talk about those hail chances here. Let's talk about what we saw yesterday. There were those big hailstones right along 70 near the Rush area. We've got some high wind across South Dakota and Nebraska yesterday. Once again in the Sioux Falls or Sioux City area, very similar to what we saw the day before whenever we had that derecho come through on Monday. Now what we're watching for are storms moving through the St. Louis areas. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning issued for St. Louis right now. We have 3 areas that we're watching for today. One of those being St. Louis. There you go, right in the middle of the screen. The other, for that hail risk, up for Wyoming, Colorado, it's going to be mainly a hail and a flooding risk out to the west. Anywhere from KC to St. Louis up to Chicago, what we're watching for here is that wind risk, and we even have a wind and a hail risk across the East Coast. So a little bit of everything today, and if you don't get the storms, you'll definitely get the heat. Tomorrow, we return back down into Denver for another chance for storms. Yes, so Denver keeps dodging hail for now, but we'll see if we can hit Denver over the next few days. We'll see. Alrighty, taking a look at your current conditions here, you've got a cold front that's lining up right across Kansas City right now, hopefully cooling you down just a little bit. If nothing else, you've got the showers moving through, so a little bit of cloud cover is going to go a long way in this heat. Low pressure system sitting over the Midwest, also bringing you some wet weather this morning. We've got a little boundary that's going through St. Louis right now, helping to initiate this thunderstorms this afternoon. And what we're really watching for here is thunderstorms in the heat of the day. So it's starting to get really hot right now. You're going to see some pop-up showers and storms over the next few hours. Moving down to the south where we're mostly dry, just most of that activity is going on across the central portion of the U.S. Let's talk temperatures now. We're in the 90s, mid-90s in Dallas. Holy moly, 95 in Oklahoma City. This could be the hottest day of the year for Oklahoma City so far. Thankfully, we're a little bit cooler in Kansas City where we are seeing that front move through right now. And we've got the 70s in Denver, Colorado. For your heat advisory, less people included in advisory today than what we saw yesterday. Still, it stretches anywhere from Florida all the way into Oklahoma and across the Midwest. Even some of our East Coasters included in that heat advisory today. Now let's talk hail. I know that's what a lot of you have probably jumped on here for, the hail risk for today. Tyler's saying please, one more time. Tyler's saying, please, Jesus, bring KC some hail. It's a pretty low risk today. Take a look at that. What you're watching for this model is you're watching for those yellows, oranges, and reds to creep into the map here. KC, not looking great. You get a little bit of yellow in the map. What does that mean? Quarter-size hail? Maybe, if you're lucky. And that looks like that's about it for Kansas City today. Now it's a little bit more promising as you head back out to the west. Let's actually zoom down into the northern Rockies here. We're talking about Denver all the way up into Wyoming and Montana. This will be your main hail risk for today. But I know a lot of you are watching back from Kansas to Missouri, so I'll move out of the way here so you can see your full map. 4 o'clock this afternoon, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Hail risks go down as we head into the evening hours. Now, what do we expect for the max hail size again today? I did this yesterday. and those storms overperformed once again. So 2-inch size hail is what I'm saying for right now. However, I would not discount maybe a baseball size hail or two slipping in there. I think that's absolutely possible, but it's going to be extremely isolated. It's going to be one of those things that you hear about tomorrow and you're going to say, where did that happen? I didn't see that. Very, very isolated if we get anything larger than hen egg sized hail. Let's go to your official hail trace hail forecast here. We've got one area for some small hail just outside of Kansas City, including Wichita, Kansas, Topeka, Manhattan, all included in this here, basically turning south at Salina as you go down I-35 here, including the Flint Hills. That's where you're going to get your hail today. It's a pretty low chance. We're talking about quarters, maybe $half size hail here. A better chance for those larger hailstones as you go into places like Wyoming and Montana. This is what I like to call a rinse and repeat type of forecast, because this is a very similar forecast to what we saw yesterday. Is it giving you a little deja vu? It's giving me some deja vu. We do have a low risk for Denver. That highlighted there in green, but a better chance for those larger hailstones the farther north that you go. And here's a rare hail risk for you today. The far, far northeastern portion of the U.S. We're talking about Maine, Portland, Holton, all included in a low hail risk for today. Now, oftentimes whenever we see hail up in the far northern states, especially the farther north and east that you go, and then you go up to Canada, what you see is high volume and small hailstones. So maybe we could see some of that today. We'll keep an eye on it for you. Whenever we talk about wind risk, that's a lot more widespread across the U.S. What we're talking about here is that level 1 wind risk, 65, 75 mile per hour wind speeds here, anywhere from the Rockies all the way out to the plains, into the Midwest, and even off to the West Coast. We've got a few boundaries out there today that will be putting on and off showers and storms, creating a flood risk and also a pretty widespread wind risk today. However, we're not watching for any of those extreme wind speeds like what we saw the past 2 days. 80, 90 mile per hour wind speeds, not in the forecast today. What we're watching for today are those 50, 60, 70 mile per hour wind speeds. So let's get to your timeline here. We are watching storms across the Midwest, across the Rockies, and across the East Coast. So just a little reminder, we're going to start nationally, and then I'm going to go into each one of those 3 areas, and we're going to get a look at your timeline. Now, I do have to say, some of the people who have been the most active in our comments sections are people down in Denver, Colorado. They've been DMing us. They've been in our comments section, so we'll really focus on Denver today. If you guys have any other questions about areas across the country, let us know, and we'll try to focus on your areas later on. Thank you, KC, for jumping in there. I'll have to post a picture or something for the radar for Kansas City today. Vic is back on here. Okay, I love it whenever Vic comments because it is usually about Denver. Hello, Hail Trace team. How are you doing? Happy Wednesday. I heard a small thing about Denver. All right, let's get right down into it then. Here's your timeline for Denver today. You can see storms very similar to what we saw yesterday, hugging I-25 and forming just to the west of there. Those storms will start out pretty isolated, but I do think that you're going to get more rain today than what you saw yesterday. Storms were very, very isolated today. I think they're going to be a little bit more widespread today, contributing to that flooding risk. So we haven't talked too much about the flooding risk, but I do want to note that today, especially just to the east of I-25, whenever we've got round and round of storms that could cause another flooding risk today. Alrighty, moving on, let's continue to talk about Denver here. We zoom down into your city, and here's a look at your exact risk for today. It's a marginal risk, and what we're really focusing on, as I mentioned, will be those 60 mile per hour wind speeds, up to ping pong ball size hail, but I kept that risk pretty low, similar to yesterday. What I'm really watching for here is maybe 1, maybe 2 storms to be your hailers, and the rest are going to be flood risks. So I have upped the flood risk today, and I should probably say from localized to more of a widespread risk today, especially to the east of I-25. Taking a look at that hail specific forecast, your chance for larger hail, I kept it pretty low today. Your timeline here will be between about 3 o'clock to 8 o'clock this evening, forming just to the west of I-25, right around 3 o'clock this afternoon, moving to the east, and then moving out of your area by the time that you're ready to lie down this evening. 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, that's a little early to go to bed, but hey, storms will be out of your way. Maybe you can do some last-minute lawn or outside activities, take the dog for a walk after the storms pass. Alrighty, moving on to Chicago now, because you can see an area where we're watching for high wind anywhere from Wichita to Kansas City, St. Louis, and then all the way up to the Midwest. Again, what we're watching for in here is a low hail risk in the central to eastern portion of Kansas, and then a wind risk primarily for everyone else highlighted here in green. That doesn't mean you can't get some hail in here. It just means that it's such a low chance we didn't put it on the board today. Storms have already fired in St. Louis. We've already got that isolated storm in St. Louis right now, but we will see more widespread coverage as we head into the afternoon and evening hours. This could extend into the overnight hours for some of us. So a strike of lightning, a rumble of thunder as you're headed to bed is definitely possible across this area. Now moving up to the northeast, where we do have that hail risk across the far northeastern portion of the U.S. Very similar to the rest of us, isolated storms to start, more widespread into the afternoon and overnight. However, I do think that storms will start to die down as the sun goes down. All right, there's your forecast. Hey, has anyone been looking at the tsunami and the earthquake updates? That hit last night, so I actually want to give you an update here. Is that where we're going next? Oh no, we're going to tomorrow next, and then we'll talk about the earthquake updates. Okay, so here's your risk for today. Here's your risk for tomorrow. Tomorrow again, Denver's in that low hail risk. It's just like, it's like the weather is stringing you along, saying today, maybe, tomorrow, maybe. I feel like Denver's playing with us a little bit. All right, out to the East Coast, we have another chance for some high wind tomorrow. No risk for Friday yet, but I do think that you'll be put on the board tomorrow. Taking a look at your future radar for tomorrow, very, very similar to what we are seeing today, where storms form just along the mountains. You see that boundary come over the mountains. You've got storms just to the west of I-25, moving off to the east. It's just a rinse and repeat forecast every day, similar to the last. Now let's go to the earthquake yesterday. A historic, one of the strongest earthquakes that has ever been recorded. 8.8 in magnitude just off the east coast of Russia. So down here is Japan. There's Russia. 8.8 magnitude, absolutely insane. The aftershocks were in the 7.5 category and greater. Very, very impressive. Now, if we zoom out here, you can see Alaska. Here's the Pacific Ocean. Down here is Hawaii, and here is the west coast of the U.S. Now, along the west coast, we are still included in a tsunami advisory right now, or that may have just expired. Let's see if any of the coast is included in that advisory anymore. Okay, it looks like a very small portion of the northern side of California included in that advisory, but the rest has now been lifted, except for the far southern portion as well. Now, what a tsunami advisory means is it's kind of a step above a tsunami watch, and what that means is they're encouraging people stay off the coastline, stay out of the harbors, stay off the beach and marinas for now. Most of these tsunami advisories expire today. We're not expecting this to linger into the end of the work week. However, what we are watching for right now are going to be those really high tsunami waves for now, and then rocky conditions into the end of the work week. And I think a lot of people, especially across the U.S., are wondering, how does this even happen? What does this even mean? How does a tsunami even form? So let's talk about this here. You probably learned in elementary or maybe middle school about plate tectonics, right? At the Earth's core, right under our feet, we've got plate tectonics. And what they do is they sit on top of each other. Every now and then, they move a little bit. They move back and forth. And while you may think that it doesn't look like they move very much, they could actually move hundreds of miles back and forth. And what that does is it causes, obviously, vibrations. There's your earthquake, right? An 8.8 magnitude earthquake was what was recorded yesterday. And so we get that earthquake at the Earth's surface, and then we get from it vibrations that transfer all the way up through the water in the Pacific Ocean. It's almost like dropping a rock into a pond, and you have those vibrations that spread out in each direction. Well, that's exactly what happened yesterday, and then that's what we see as tsunami waves at the coast. So that's how a tsunami forms. If you guys have any questions about that, because I know this is a pretty difficult concept, let us know and we'll try to respond as best as we can because I think this is a very interesting, very dangerous topic. And most of us across the U.S. don't have to deal with this because we don't live on the coastline. Now let's continue in the Pacific here. Many people were included in those tsunami warnings in Hawaii yesterday. But if you go on the southern side of Hawaii, you may be facing a hurricane. Now it's not headed towards Hawaii at all. What we actually see here are a bunch of fish storms. These are out to sea. They most likely will not hit land at all. We've got one Category 1 hurricane. We've got a tropical storm, and if you continue with me a little bit closer to land back to the east on the eastern side of the Pacific, we have two other areas that we're watching for some pretty promising formation into another tropical cyclone over the next 2 to 5 days. We've got an 80% chance to see this low pressure system forming into a tropical cyclone. You can almost see some spin right there. And we've got another chance into the weekend to see another tropical cyclone formation. So a lot going on in the Pacific. What about the Atlantic? What about the Gulf? Quiet. Nothing much going on in the Atlantic right now. However, we do think that that could change over the next month. We actually just posted our 2025 hurricane season forecast yesterday on YouTube. So if you're curious about what we're still expecting for the 2025 season, head over to our YouTube channel. We posted that yesterday. Who's ready for some cooler weather? Are you sick of the heat? It's still going to be hot, but at least it'll be less hot than what we see right now. Temperatures are cooling down across the central portion of the U.S. as we head into the later portion of this work week. Thank goodness. Some people are praying for hail, some people are praying for cooler temperatures, and you're getting that, well, at least you're getting the cooler temperatures. Temperatures are dropping below average for this time of the year as we head into the end of the work week. We're talking about Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Temperatures look a lot more comfortable. So you know that yard work that you've been putting off, I think it's about time to do it. You can't blame the heat anymore for not getting out there. Temperatures, thankfully, are going to be dropping down to the 70s and 80s as we head into the end of the work week. What about the rest of August? So we're talking about August 4th through the 8th right here. It does look like it's going to warm back up. So as we get into the second week of August, temperatures are likely to increase back above average for a good portion of the U.S. We are also watching for a decent amount of rain just hugging the northern and the eastern portion of the U.S. You're going to hear this term quite a bit in the next week or two. I'm calling it now. Give us 10 days and you'll hear it again. High pressure system, heat ridge, all of those, ring of fire, all of those are words for a high pressure system that sets up right across the four corners over here. And what happens is it locks in that heat for a good portion of the U.S. Around that high pressure system, storms will kind of dance on the outer edges of that and keep the northern and the eastern sides of this high pressure system pretty wet. So what we're going to see is we're going to see just like round after round of storm in places like the Midwest and the East Coast. Meanwhile, the rest of us stay pretty hot. Well, it's going to be about a week or two before we see that. So of course, we'll be tracking that for you. We'll be tracking that hail chance in Denver today, and we'll also be tracking the hail chance up in Wyoming and Montana. Any wind or hail that we get across the rest of the U.S., you know our meteorologist will have eyes on it. Thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox. As always, put your weather questions in the comments section and give us a follow on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Just about every day, we do a TikTok live where we do some behind the scenes. How does a green screen work? What does our studio look like? So follow us on TikTok. It's a lot of fun to watch those lives. We answer your questions just like we do on Facebook as well. And if you're interested in a hail, wind, or tornado map, give us a call at 855-334-4245 or email us at info@hailtrace.com. You can even head over to our website, hailtrace.com. All right, thanks for joining us today. We'll see you back here for your forecast. Same time, same place tomorrow.